Welcome, everyone, to the Minions of the Zoo Tuesday edition. I'm your keeper, Skep Tock, and with me I have Minion Sora Luna.
Hello.
Prospero, who will return in just a minute. And
Hello.
the Harry. Oh, she did. She got back.
Hello.
And the Harry channel.
Good evening.
And a welcome to you all. I hope you all are having a wonderful day and everything's going great. What's the temperature down there in Monterey County?
Nice, like 70.
Oh, bite me.
God, it was hot here today.
Well, it's cold here.
Yeah.
It gets down
was
to the
hot
high
here,
50s
too.
at night.
Just hurt us even worse. And Minion Jenna has joined the stream.
Hi, Jenna.
Hi.
Hey.
Welcome, gentles, all. Well, what a nice thing! What a nice thing to happen that we would have the Nord Stream 2 sabotage just in time for the Tuesday stream. I think this is great. Any ideas on what that is? Who did that or why?
I don't even know what you said.
I don't know.
Okay, I'll explain in a minute.
But all I know is that there were two kind of expeditionary vessels of ours nearby, and amazingly, a bunch of people like Marines and SEALs, and then weirdly, as they passed by a certain area in a certain place, their transponders got turned off.
The transponders on were they on airplanes or ships?
Ships.
Okay. It's interesting.
From what I understand, this is all that is dribbling out as far as technical data.
I wonder if we had something to do with it.
Well, I don't know, because Captain Puddin all but said that it wasn't, he was going to do something, and mention Nord Stream in particular.
Oh, Nord Stream. Okay, I got it now.
And so
somebody blew up the pipelines underneath the North Sea, and now all the gas is escaping into the atmosphere. It's great. It'll be fun.
The Swedes are really relaxed about it. They're just they're totally copacetic.
Oh, that's a good one. As if we would believe that.
Lolly, look, the ocean is a farting. I mean, it's just, I swear to God, I don't know. Of course, some people are saying, well, Russia could have done it themselves. And they're like, why?
No.
The child in me wants to sail a ship out there and get a flaming arrow and shoot it into
through
those bubble things.
Yeah, right through the ocean farts. Yes, it would be awesome. Get it out there with a giant replica of a Bic lighter and fire the arrow through that and go, just totally Beavis and Butthead. It's just awesome. And speaking of Beavis and Butthead, I can't wait to see what our people say in response to this, as in the glowies and everyone else. Because, okay, cui bono, right?
Mm-hmm. Who benefits from this?
The Poles, the British, and the United States.
How did the Poles and British and the United States benefit from this?
Well, the Poles hate everybody involved, except for Britain and the United States. And they don't want that pipeline. And they don't want Russia breathing down their neck. So anything that hurts Russia is a benefit to them.
Isn't accusations coming out of Poland? Or from a Polish guy is
MEP.
One of
a Polish MEP basically said thanks, USA.
Yeah.
Which is now this could all be the giant red herring of the MacGuffin, right?
Yeah.
But old Puddinhead went out there and shot his mouth off a while back about it. And then it happens. You can't be surprised if people point fingers.
Oh, yeah. You're talking about the fact that Biden kind of slyly indicated that he could get some kind of mischief done against the Russians if the Russians got horsey with us.
Yeah.
Or if they got horsey with Europe.
If they got horsey with Ukraine from the beginning, if they invade, blah, 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 blah. And, here's the thing.
Okay.
An act of economic terrorism, which would be what the Russians would consider this to be, and under international law, rightly so, I would say, could be considered an act of war by people who are already not the most stable folks.
Who owns Nord Stream? I've got the answer. The answer is Gazprom.
Yes.
Okay, so these are this was done to hurt Gazprom because Gazprom only makes money when the gas is prominent, when the gas is moving through the pipeline.
Promenading.
Yes, promenading, as it were. And so who would want to hurt Gazprom? Well, that's someone who would want to hurt Mother Russia, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because Gazprom is almost a quasi-governmental agency. The government interferes so much in industrial policy in the Soviet Union. I don't even know what to call it, but it's certainly not an unfettered international.
It's symbiotic, shall we say?
Yeah, symbiotic. When two parasites love each other very, very much.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. They're parasites in both directions because
it's frequently what symbiosis is.
We all know that Putin stays in power as long as people in Russia who want to make money make money.
Bingo. Russia really is an oligarchy, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and
it had the trappings of that before the Soviet Union fell, so it's not surprising that would be the kind of de facto aftermath operational model.
Yeah.
I don't think it's disputed that Russia is an oligarchy.
Mm-mm.
I mean, there might be some guy on a street corner yelling, but other than like the oddball, I don't think that anybody disputes this.
No.
So this does seem a lot like if we were the ones that did it, cutting off your nose to spite your face.
Yes.
Because we're already looking at horrible gas shortages.
Uh-huh.
There's not one chance in hell we did this.
I know. I don't understand
I
don't understand what our motivation would be. This just doesn't make sense to me.
That's why the cui bono.
Well, why can't it just be an accident? Things happen.
Because we don't live
could
in
be
La La Land.
Not real probable, but could be.
There are some ways to investigate this. There's there are things our Navy and other navies do to listen to virtually all parts of the ocean. We can hear certain sounds of a certain magnitude. If something concussive happened, that sound will be recorded somewhere, particularly down there. That's a high traffic area. There's a lot of that kind of recording going on by more than one nation. So somebody's going to have a record of what the sound was and what other sounds were associated with that. Now, if it's go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I think it's ludicrous to assume that the Ukrainians did it.
Ukrainians did not do this.
They got in like a little boat and just
Yeah. I was like, Sergey and Pavel got out in a fishing boat and very, very carefully lowered a couple of grenades underneath it.
There may have been some drinking involved.
Yes.
It seemed like a good idea at the time.
Possibly. Yeah, I just don't think that's,
we started drinking Ouzo, and pretty soon we were blowing up pipelines. I don't know.
Who's the chief competitor for Gazprom within Russia?
But nobody.
Yeah. So it's, and it certainly wasn't Iran because they're busy making deals with Russia.
This is really interesting because I can't figure out anybody with the right combination of motives and capabilities who could have done something offensive like
Canada.
Oh, Canada!
Blame
Canada. Never motivated to do anything.
Well, remember they were talking to Trudeau about, hey, you got a lot of gas there. We'd like to buy some for Europe, and so if Canada does this, that puts them in a better bargaining position.
That's the same argument used for the U.S. doing it.
If Canada had a rational prime minister, I might agree with you.
Yeah, but we're not going to increase production of gas for any reason because, the optics are bad from the green perspective.
I have coffee. He has cocktail parties to go to. He has to look a certain way. It's his feelings that are involved. Fuck Canada.
Well, there was an episode of...
he has feelings.
There was an episode of Saturday Night Live where the whole thing was Phil Hartman pretending to be Ronald Reagan. and in this sketch, he was a genius. So every time the reporters and stuff would leave the room, he'd just behave like an absolute genius.
Yeah.
And then the reporters come in and be like, well, and then just sort of act like a simpleton. And they did this whole sequence of people coming and going out of the room and him switching modes. Maybe that's what Trudeau's like. He looks like a complete idiot and a buffoon, but maybe he's secretly a genius.
No, I think you're right. But here's the problem. What he thinks of as the genius mode is the part you see.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Yeah, he thinks he's brain, but he's actually Pinky.
I don't think anybody got that joke, Prospero, but thank you for laughing, my dear.
Skep, is there any way you can turn up my headphone volume, not my speaker, but my headphone volume?
I would have to get on a plane, but I could do that.
Well, no, it won't let me do it. So I was wondering if it was because it won't
that's
let
nothing
me
I can control on.
Oh, that's
all your control. And so, if you're,
I let Tegan touch my computer.
It's probably because I'm getting half of your volume. Here, I'll turn this off.
If you could make it better? So that the other me could hear it, I'd appreciate it.
Volume privilege.
Okay, let's see.
I think it was New Zealand.
Oh yeah, that would make sense.
Mm.
I think
that crazy prime minister down there, that nutcase.
If she had a dog in the hunt, but it's at this point you might as well say it was the Portuguese. And I'm just picturing that.
No.
Yeah, they got into an argument before they even got past Denmark, and it was all over.
Okay, so I did my due diligence here because I've been working all day. I haven't had a chance to look at the news. So I guess Nord Stream 1 developed some leaks, and then shortly after that, Nord Stream 2 developed some leaks. So 2 separate pipelines on the same day, both spontaneously developed leaks.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, that happens all the time.
Right. In fact, the Washington Post, to which I subscribe, has European leaders blame Russian sabotage after Nord Stream explosions. European leaders said Tuesday they believe dual explosions that damaged pipelines built to carry Russian natural gas to Europe were deliberate and some officials blamed the Kremlin, suggesting the blasts were intended as a threat to the continent. The damage did not have an immediate impact on Europe's energy supplies. Russia cut off flows earlier this month, and European countries had built up stockpiles and secure alternative energy sources before that. But the episode is likely to mark a final end to the Nord Stream pipeline projects, a more than 2-decade effort that deepened Europe's dependence on Russian natural gas, and that many officials now say was a grave strategic mistake. Many officials now say, the Washington Post now says. All right, anyway, the pair of explosions Monday produced leaks in all 3 of the underwater Nord Stream pipelines that connect Russia and Germany, causing massive plumes of gas bubbles to break the surface of the Baltic Sea. These are deliberate actions, not an accident. Danish Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen told reporters Tuesday the situation is as serious as it gets. Frederiksen said the explosions just off the coast of the Danish island of Bornholm were not an attack on Denmark since they took place in international waters. But anyway, Danish military leaders on Tuesday dispatched the Absalon, one of their top-of-the-line frigates. That'll scare everybody, along with other patrol ships to guard the island. Danish Foreign Minister Jeppe I can't fucking Danish. Jesus was
Schempp is right.
Yeah, Schempp. Danish Foreign Minister
Zeppo.
Schempp. Beppo was calling
Beppo and Zeppo
was calling other NATO counterparts to discuss the situation. According to Harpo, a senior European diplomat who was familiar with the conversations and who, like the others, spoke on condition of anonymity to talk frankly about internal security. We do not know the details of what happened yet, but we can clearly see that it was an act of sabotage. Polish Prime Minister Unpronounceable said the act probably marks the next stage in the escalation of this situation in Ukraine. Unpronounceable said he was speaking at a ceremony to open the unpronounceable of the unpronounceable that gives Poland and its neighbors access to Norwegian natural gas. The project was intended to reduce dependence on the gas that once flowed from Russia. Russia denied responsibility for the damage. The Russian government is extremely concerned. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said Tuesday, as he kind of chortled up his sleeve. No, I'm just kidding. Anyway, the damage that occurred in one day simultaneously at 3 lines of offshore pipelines of the Nord Stream system is unprecedented. The operating company Nord Stream AG said in a statement, it said it was working with local authorities to assess the extent of the damage along with the cause. 5 European officials with direct knowledge of security discussions said there was a widespread assumption that Russia was behind the incident. Only Russia had the motivation, the submersible equipment, and the capability, several of them said, though they cautioned that they did not have direct evidence of Russia's involvement. I don't know. What do you guys think? Russia?
I think it was probably... Go ahead. I think it was probably some radicals just screwing around because we've let them get away with anything they want to do.
Where was Greta?
Does anyone know where Greta was?
They had to take her out of computer storage,
I know, that's true. Maybe her battery backup has failed.
I'd like to take Greta down to about 1,000 feet and
detonate her.
Let her out of the sub with the scuba gear. It'll be fine. We'll be over here.
Yeah. Scuba gear kills the whales. I've refused to use it. Fine. Hop in.
The Swedish police have opened an investigation into sabotage, a spokesman for the Swedish Public Prosecutor's Office, Carl Unpronounceable, said. Germany and Denmark are also investigating. In other words, nobody knows shit.
Right.
What I'm saying.
Yeah.
Well, I have a question. Is my theory that it was probably some radical douchebags?
That's nonsensical. They wouldn't have the submersible equipment to get down.
Yeah, you really have to have some pretty sophisticated.
This is a deep sea matter, you know,
this is
well,
not.
I understand that.
Not drop a grenade in and get the pieces of the catfish that come up.
I get it's not like, you know, a BML protest or anything, but
no.
Think about. I can't say it because we'll get
not unless you're talking about letters adjacent to W, E, and F. Could they find somebody who was skilled enough? So no.
Well, that's what I was thinking, though.
No, I mean, it's conceivable a faction within Russia has turned on somebody, but that's a little far-fetched too.
Anyway, there's going to be some very interesting intel that is going to come from underwater microphones, literally. I bet anything that's how they figure out what happened.
Has anybody asked James Cameron where he was at the time of the explosion?
Exactly. Or what his motivation was.
He was looking for that.
Oh, no, it was the people with the Tupperware that did this. The big Tupperware ship. You know, the long cut of the abyss that makes the mistake of showing you way more of the alien civilization than you needed to see because it looks like a great big Tupperware piece coming up out of the water. Sometimes the producers make very good decisions with their editing, and sometimes they don't. It doesn't really add that much to the movie.
Yeah. Sometimes your imagination can be better than what can be shown on screen.
Hitchcock knew that.
Oh, you're not kidding.
Well, let me be serious for a moment. I mean, just for a moment, not for too long. If the Russians wanted to cut off the gas, all they have to do is cut off the gas. I don't think they're particularly worried about breaking the contract at this point. So
I don't see how this helps them.
I don't see what they have to gain. The Swedish don't have anything to gain. The Americans don't have anything to gain.
It's not radical and it's not elf or any of that stuff.
I mean, the only person who would have anything to gain would be some accelerationist billionaire douchebag who went full Bond villain and did it just because it was part of some master plan. And I'm not saying that that's the thing. I'm just trying to think who would actually benefit from something like this. And you'd have to be some kind of accelerationist idiot to think that this was a good idea.
Like the letters surrounding WEF, where you actually have some people who are like that. And that had been the other Twitter working theory. How convenient for them. You'll eat the bugs and you'll like it.
Yeah.
And don't forget, when you're getting out of the way of the hurricane, it's most important to remember that you should be vaccinated.
You know, I got to tell you something about the Nord Stream pipeline. It's not as far down as I thought it was. It's between 200 and 300 feet deep. Yeah. That's diveable. You can get there with scuba gear.
Well, then maybe you do have some accelerationists.
I had to.
Jenna, you made him look it up. Good for you.
Damn.
So I'm not as stupid as people think I am.
Well, we know that, but we all presumed it was deeper in the North Sea than it is.
I don't get enough credit either. I'm much more stupid than people think I am, but I have trouble expressing it sometimes.
That's the Baltic Sea.
Yeah, the list of possible suspects just got a lot larger. So here's a serious question for you, Skep. I know we have giant ships that can move liquefied natural gas across the ocean.
Yep.
And they can move an awful lot of it.
Of course,
what can they? There's only a finite number of them, and bringing them in and out of service to meet changes in demand. Okay, so the thing is, I assume we're already over capacity.
Big time.
Which means that the U.S. has no incentive. The good news for those of us in the U.S. is the 18% increase in natural gas prices we're already looking at. Probably isn't going to go up a lot more because we literally can't move in the short term more gas than we already are.
Exactly. It's the gear up time that kills you, particularly with vessels, because there are just limited numbers of places that can recondition a vessel to make it seaworthy and capable
and train
of
people to
transporting.
run them. And
Yeah.
And what kind of fuel source do these vessels use that carry natural gas?
Navy distillate oil
Okay.
in the probably 05 or 03.
That's what I figured.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's like a post I saw on Facebook today where a woman who I have followed for a number of years was talking about a guy she knows is an electrician in a coastal area, and he has been getting inundated with calls about what size generator people need to power their electric cars.
And is it towable?
Yeah, and the answer, and one of her next posts was, by the way, big is the answer. Yeah, is it towable? That's I mean, this is, I'm not the least bit surprised, because if you know anything about Pinellas County or some of the Tampa area, there's a bit of blueberry land in there. And so you can only imagine what some of the left coast of Florida liberals are worrying about. They might want to worry about whether they'll ever get their Tesla out from under the palm tree that's lying on top of it.
I thought they were commanded to evacuate. Well, asked to evacuate.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure a large number of people have evacuated from between Port Charlotte and Tampa. The storm surge warnings alone are enough to scare the ever-loving shit out of you.
What?
Just the height of the water that they're talking about.
Let me tell you, those advisories, you take those really seriously.
They were putting signs up in Tampa.
Yeah.
Literally with 9-foot water markers on them.
I don't doubt it.
And 6-foot water markers to try to scare the shit out of people. Because they're talking about conceivably 9 feet of water, I think, in the Miala River.
Wow.
The Miaka River around Northport.
Mm-hmm.
Covering the Tamiami.
That sounds great.
Which is just one other giant clapping pain in the ass as far as trying to move supplies into an area.
Texas is Florida without the hurricanes.
You get hurt.
Yeah, ask Galveston. Yeah, it's been a while. But see, Tampa, it's been a while. So be careful, because Galveston might call you up and say, "Shut up, bro."
What is the hurricane?
It's been about 100 years since Tampa has been hit directly by a hurricane.
No, I mean, what is the hurricane?
What's the Saffir-Simpson scale? It is a strong 3. Last I saw, is expected to become a 4 momentarily.
The Galveston hurricane that Prospero was talking about in 1900 was a Category 4. It was a Category 4 storm.
Yeah.
It gets called a Category.
Jenna?
What?
Okay. But it had a 15-foot storm surge, and the winds were more than 135 miles an hour. It killed between 6,000 and 12,000 people, and it caused about $1 billion worth of damage in 2020 dollars.
Yep. And just because it flattened an island. And then storm surged ashore as well. I mean, Galveston got run over top of, but I mean, they built the seawall, which will have a positive impact, but that doesn't stop it from being still a pretty messy mess. Tampa, you can't build a seawall because it's a fucking port, and it would be like building a seawall across.
Harvey hit us, but it just hit the deserted part of Padre Island. Basically, you know, Texas is really big. We have a really big coast.
It is
coastline. People don't realize that.
Tampa, it has been a long time, because the concern is because the low pressure, the pressure in this hurricane is nice and scary low. The bubble of water that's going to be pushed up into the bay.
Mm-hmm.
around Tampa and St. Pete is pretty impressive.
Is this Ian? Is that the...
Yeah, it's Ian, and also because you have onshore winds. Onshore winds push water, and then you have the surge that results from the ocean literally bubbling up into the low pressure, creating that rise. So you're going to get 12 to 18 hours of rainfall on top of it.
It'd be great.
Yeah, because
that's if it doesn't stall.
Well, they're thinking it is going to slow as it crosses Florida. Now they have it exiting Florida, and then moving up the
East Coast,
Atlantic coast, and then making landfall again somewhere in Georgia or South Carolina.
That'll be fantastic. That'll be lovely.
It won't have the ability to re-strengthen enough to be awful.
Look at the water temperatures before you can say that, I think.
But they're thinking if it exits at Deltona and comes back in at Savannah, it hasn't been in the water that long, especially if it's already been stripped down to a tropical storm, which is what they expect.
But it could stall out there and just
churn away
and build, and that's what
the weather patterns don't indicate a stall. There's a trough that has picked up Ian, which is why it steered it northeasterly.
Oh, okay.
And as that trough, as high pressure lifts in the northeast Atlantic and that trough moves off, it will take Ian. If Ian blips inland, it's gonna pass out. It's just gonna lose strength because there's so much dry air all the way down, a lot of dry air all the way down into to northern Alabama and Mississippi. And once that starts feeding into the low, it'll choke it. The best case scenario would have been for Ian to aim toward the panhandle because it would have been choked by the dry air.
What I don't understand if this is landing, if this storm is going to hit Tampa with all the Scientologists there, why can't they just push the weather back with their Thetan brains?
Yep.
I think that's a fair question.
Oopsie daisy.
Well, because they want to protect only themselves, right? If they push it back now, then everybody else who's a non-believer will be saved. Right?
Oh, so
they really think that way?
No, well, they operate on converts. They're effectively.
Let's
I'm not
do up a little
say.
Pink Floyd playing money.
Yeah.
Did you guys ever see the Leah
Remini?
Leah
Remini stuff? No.
Boson, the Scientologist.
I read some of her stuff.
I know David Miscavige's dad, and I periodically DM him and correspond with him.
It was very interesting to watch.
I met him at MythCon.
I don't blame him.
He hates Scientology.
Well,
he hates what it's done to his son.
I
know.
I'm laughing at Harry's avatar.
What did Harry? Oh, what does it say, Harry?
Oh, you selfish humans! How dare you destroy the planet with all this plastic? And it's Greta.
She's enjoying a nice spread.
Yeah, with a big old spread involving plastics. Listen to me, son. One word: plastics.
Well, if you look at the Wikipedia page on most deadly weather disasters in the world, in world history, there was one of these hurricanes where the seawall was fine, but there was a lake behind the town. And then as the tail end of the hurricane was behind them, it basically lifted up the lake and dropped it on top of the town and killed like tens of thousands of people. I don't remember which hurricane that was.
Or typhoon.
No, it was in the U.S.
Well, the only lake I know behind a town that you could kill a whole lot of people in would be New Orleans. It's a man-made lake.
It sounds like New Orleans is good luck.
Well, Galveston.
Well, they made Galveston.
I was
The
wondering if it was
one in
Galveston.
Texas
No.
100 years ago, it was so bad that they would bury people at sea and they'd come back. And
That would be unfortunate.
They just won't stay. They won't stay buried. That can happen with burial at sea.
well, they were floating back.
Yeah.
I swear this is true.
Oh yeah.
Well,
It
also
got
a
to
lot
the
of people
point-
washed away, floated back too.
Yeah.
Well, Galveston's an island, so I mean, you have water on both sides of it.
And
So-
unfortunately, they had to take care of it in a way that I'm glad I didn't have to smell it.
Yeah. Well, you don't want a cholera outbreak, and you don't want all kinds of other horrible outbreaks that you can get if you have a whole lot of dead bodies lying around. It's funny, though, because so many people are reeing about climate change in regard to this, and I know that I'm not supposed to err from proper viewpoint here, but are they aware that Atlantic and Pacific hurricanes existed before Europeans ever got to the Western Hemisphere?
Prospero, we don't talk about that.
Okay.
The first rule of colonizing is we don't talk about colonizing.
Oh, okay. I'm just wondering if they're aware of that. I think we have to blame the Chinese.
I say we blame the weather.
No, weather didn't exist before evil colonizers existed. There was no weather. It's like the weirdest form of meteorological noble savage.
It's like they.
Did
there are
everybody
records-
leave?
No, we're here.
There are records of weather going forever back. I mean, we didn't start taking rail records until I think the early 20th.
Oh, of weather records? Yeah. I mean, the seriously solid good data on temperature and that kind of stuff is only a little bit more over 100 years than over 100 years old. Because we just didn't have uniformity. We didn't have uniformity in equipment until much more recently than that.
No, we didn't. But there were still.
There's still plenty of anecdotal evidence as to stuff. I mean,
Yeah,
we know
it was still written down. It's freaking hot today, or
yeah. I mean, but social historians have the stuff. Okay, that can back. Social science can back up science. It's like geologists are quite aware of the New Madrid earthquake, but we're also quite aware of the New Madrid earthquake because of the recollections of the people who were there. And the fact that pretty much everybody within a number of hundreds of miles was aware of the fact that there had been a significant earthquake somewhere. When the Mississippi River flowed backwards.
I'd love to ask Greta about Pompeii and how the Pompeians caused it.
Well, maybe they invented plastic and we don't know it.
They angered the volcano, so the volcano got its revenge.
Yeah, that's what got rid of Atlantis. I think you got your wires crossed.
Hmm.
Yeah.
No. Atlantis, unfortunately, got caught up in some tuna fishing rope nets, and it took it right down.
Oh, I thought maybe it was the great Anglo-Franco scallop war that sunk Atlantis.
No, it was whatever fish I just said.
What is the
Tuna?
that area between Denmark and Scotland that used to be an island that they found peat on and actually found some artifacts on the sea bottom?
Between Denmark and Scotland?
Yeah, it's a big fishing bank now in the North Sea. I can't think of the name of it, but it used to be an island that I always thought that was a pretty good candidate for Atlantis. Because it would have sunk. I'm not sure when they think that sunk, but I just think it's interesting that they started pulling artifacts out of it, and plus they saw peat, and since peat is decayed vegetation, essentially, that meant that the vegetation was growing on an island or an isthmus or something. Some piece of land probably connected to Europe, may have been an island.
It might explain the Faroe Islands and some of the others, what Lerwick and some of the other stuff that's...
Yeah, this was substantially larger than the Shetlands or the Faroes or any of those. The way that I have seen it depicted, I haven't looked at any of that stuff up for a long time, but I was just thinking about that. That's also just roughly the area where some of the pipelines run through. I don't know. Anyway, we don't have enough information to know what caused this. I think there are ways to obtain that information, and I think that governments are obtaining that information right now. I guarantee you there is a 24/7 effort by U.S. Navy naval intelligence to understand anything they possibly may have heard, in case they had a program that listened to all around the world for everything. Then I'm not saying they do. If they had that kind of information, they would sure be looking at it, and something will emerge from that.
All the submarine detection stuff, I'm sure we'll pick it up.
Yep, absolutely.
I mean, a lot of that stuff is infrasound, but there will still be harmonics in the infrasound.
Those acoustic engineers are amazing. The sonar guys aboard ship, they are artists. They're really good at teasing information out of what just sounds like a ping.
Oh, sorry. The answer, Doggerland.
That's it, Doggerland. That's it. It's exactly it. That's the one I was thinking of.
9,000-year-old artifacts gathered from North Sea point to the existence of Doggerland.
Really?
Right, so in 9,000 years
9,000.
since those guys were around. Seems like it was just...
Yep.
Anyway.
Could you send me the spelling of that, Prospero?
Doggerland. Dogger. It's the Dogger Bank.
Okay.
Which is a moraine formed in the Pleistocene.
The presence of humans in the Americas was previously thought to be around... The oldest evidence we had was around 13,000 BC. And lately they've found some stuff that's quite a bit older, like maybe even 10,000 years older.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes, like 20,000 BC. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Isn't it?
Yeah. The only problem
though,
is...
it's just going to make the First People's Advocates even more insufferable around her.
Those were the Nephites.
Now our roots run twice as deep.
No, maybe they were the colonizers
Yes.
to the original.
That's what I was going to
people.
say, that it would be absolutely marvelous if you could find a couple teeth with extant DNA and find no markers in common at all with other Mesoamericans.
Oh, I just thought of a
That
beautiful
would just
scam.
be the shit, wouldn't it?
Well, people have different
But Piltdown
amounts.
Man of Anasazi land?
People have different amounts of Neanderthal
Yeah.
DNA in them. So if you could find somebody who was on the high end of that range, like
Oh, God.
3%
Plant-
special
Neanderthal
offshoot.
DNA,
Yes.
Yeah.
it could just go. I
Probably
want
find some of that in
reparations.
Mississippi.
I just want reparations for what happened to my entire race, you
Mhm.
pigs,
Yeah.
and just have all Homo sapiens pay you reparations.
Oh my God.
Nice.
Lord.
Nice.
I'm a
Yeah.
card-carrying Neanderthal. Oh,
Your
God.
world dazes and confuses me.
Just about everybody has 2 or 3% DNA in common with Neanderthal. It can
It's
be
more in
traced back.
some parts of the world than others. But
It is.
yeah.
It is. But I'm just, as a general rule, if you wanted to do a around the world average, it'd be about 2 or 3%. I think.
Huh.
I believe
wonder,
that's the number.
I wonder. I need to check something real quickly.
So anyway, that's the big news. In other news, the stock market is going down like a deflating balloon, and it's a very scary time, and people are getting very nervous. This is when
Money is made.
this is the time to buy. You scared? Good, buy. This is when you can really do some shopping, and it's always interested me when something happens like this. And this is artificial. They did it to themselves. There's no underlying fundamentals in the economy that forced us to do this, and that means that it's going to be fairly easy to fix. Believe it or not, all the doom and gloom going on right now, believe it or not, the economy is one of the least problems that we have. It will fix. Our economy is very robust. It's amazingly robust. It's so robust, it runs the world. It literally runs the world.
Like
we will snap back from this.
Well, the thing about not being in the market for people who don't want to be in the market is if you're dealing with inflation, one of the worst things you can do is hang on to cash.
Right.
If you buy
your cash is going downhill.
Stocks that actually have a capital value, you're buying a piece of something that has a tangible worth.
Now understand that the price earnings multiples right now are so insane that there's very little. Most of the value of stocks is technical. It's not fundamental.
Well, I mean, there are certainly things which you wouldn't want to buy because they're obviously more aspirational in terms of having a real value. But companies that actually own property and manufacturing, who own physical things, are not necessarily the worst place to be, because if you're looking at 10% inflation, you're going to lose 10% no matter what, of the value. And you're not going to show a paper loss that you can deduct or anything. It's just the intrinsic value of that cash is only 90% of what it was. So not being in the market is kind of dangerous. So, I mean, I have a handful of stocks in this one account, and I brought them up. And I haven't really been affected all that much by this stuff. I can tell you that some things have gone down quite a bit. Amazon is my big loser. I've lost almost 27% on Amazon. But I don't particularly care because I'm probably going to hold it for another 10 years.
That's a long-term play. Yeah.
That's a long-term play. The one that really surprises me is the 40% I've lost on Intel. I really didn't expect to take a bath on that, but I've made 116% on Eli Lilly.
Yeah, I bet you have.
And because I bought that at like the beginning of the pandemic, and that more than makes up for all of this other stuff.
Yeah.
And I've made 30% on Apple. So it's like you have to, if you don't have the stomach for winning and losing, you probably shouldn't
both
invest
Apple and Intel.
I do. I wouldn't necessarily, be investing in the market. But overall, it's been very profitable.
Oh, Harry.
The worst thing you can do is just not be in the market.
Yeah,
you might change your asset allocation. You might decide whether you're going to dollar cost average in or hold off a little bit. But overall, not being in the market if you're younger is a really bad idea. It's much more dangerous than being in it.
Yeah,
term.
you're in a, and you're in exactly. You're exactly right. What's happening now is the Fed is going to put the hammer down on interest rates, and things are going to sputter a bit. But right now, every single day, your cash loses value, and you might want to take the remaining value of your cash and put it in something that will return you that will offer a better return. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah,
I'm not giving investment advice.
no, because you don't want to
no
destroy
longer.
all
I'm
your
no longer a stock.
liquidity.
I'm no longer a stockbroker. This is not investment advice. I'm just saying, if you are interested in that sort of thing, now is the time to, take a look around and see what's out there.
Well, can I ask a question that isn't? Well, it's not asking you for advice. It's just asking an opinion.
Okay.
You know my situation. You know my living situation.
Yeah.
With my now, I'm very lucky in the fact that my house is completely paid off and it's worth. Never mind. You guys know. Would getting into the stock market be a good idea for someone like me who has
You're
with
asking
everything on my plate?
You're asking directly for investment advice, and so I can't give you that. If you're interested in the market, the best thing I can tell you to do is you cannot have enough information. Read, and read some more. Do your homework and get a financial advisor. You advise and let them help you. Chart your course. And I can't even. I really can't be in a position of telling you to do this or telling you to do that. I just think the market is it's an interesting time right now, and there might be some opportunity in it for some people somewhere. Who knows? But that's about the most specific advice.
Patience is the name of the game now for people. They have.
Here's another.
Because of the
tachycardia.
Yeah.
Like my house is completely paid off. My land is paid for. Isn't that one of the best investments I could have?
Sure.
Real estate, yes, because it's not going anywhere, God willing. So that is a good investment, but it's not the sole. This is why you need to talk to a financial planner, Jenna.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they will talk about the difference between real estate investment and
equities.
All the varying and sundries that are out there, because there are multiple avenues available to people who want to explore investment. And there are different postures that somebody can take. When they invest, they can be highly conservative, or they can be highly risky, or they can be a mixed bag, which most people turn out to be. Diversified for protection of both principal and
there's
to
no
preserve
substitute.
Liquidity and things like that. And
there's no substitute for sitting down with someone who you
paid to do
trust.
This.
Yes, exactly. Paid to look out for your interests.
Oh yeah,
and take that approach. That's. I'd leave it there.
I'd spread the money around, honestly. I don't know if I would trust having a single person control all of that stuff, because I don't know, I would want to spread that risk out, because there aren't that many people in this world that I would trust with all of my money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Skep may have a very different opinion about
they're a
that,
rare
but...
bird. Yeah, they're a rare bird. You develop a relationship like that over a long period of time before you would ever have most of your eggs in that one basket. And even then, it's most of your eggs. Not all.
Well, there are some limits in terms of, sort of FDIC-like insurance that some brokers carry. And you need to look at those limits. So you may want to split it up for a variety of reasons.
Yeah.
But the main thing is that you have a husband who's extremely level-headed, and I just base this on what I know about the man. So I don't think you need to worry about being taken advantage of, because normally I'd say, well, if somebody promises you incredibly high return with no risk, that's a unicorn. That just doesn't exist unless you're Hillary Clinton. None of those things exist, and I know your husband will just probably raise an eyebrow and walk away politely
And
if somebody even suggests that. Or if somebody's dumb enough to suggest you put a life insurance policy in a tax-deferred account, that's usually a really good sign that they're just wanting to make a commission off of tax-deferred money that's already tax-deferred, which is just, crazy. The last time some person from my bank tried to get me to invest with them, this was about 10, 15 years ago, I just took a copy of what I had made that last year, my 1 year return, and had the graph, and I faxed it to them, and I never heard from them again. Because compared to their insurance policies they were trying to sell me as an investment vehicle, being in the stock market was just way better.
Oh, were they trying to sell you variable annuities?
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome.
In an IRA.
Oh,
Nice.
yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Guaranteed a top end to your return.
Yeah.
See, even I know, like,
If times get good, you won't make a lot of money. Hooray for annuities.
Can I complain about this Trump New York Attorney General thing just a
Please
little bit?
do. Please
Okay.
do.
It's the more I hear about this, the more ridiculous it is. I think Bill Barr was on being interviewed, former Attorney General, and he was talking about this lawsuit, that the New York State Attorney General has brought against Trump. The person who ran for office.
Letitia?
Yeah, Letitia. She was basically running for office because saying, well, if you vote for me, I'm going to go after Trump. And their whole suit is basically based around the idea that Trump overestimated the value of his properties when he took out loans with like Shitty Bank or Capital One. I forget which one. I think it was Capital One. Now, to my mind, this is, if Capital One wanted to get their undies in a bunch about it, claiming that there was some sort of fraud, there's absolutely grounds for a civil lawsuit. But why? And the bank isn't even part of this. They don't even want a piece of this. They don't want to be anywhere near this. But for the state attorney general to just step in and go, I think you overestimated how much your property is worth on these loan applications is ludicrous in the extreme. Well, it's incumbent upon the lender to do their own freaking appraisal.
Yeah. The thing that I'm wondering is how much cash she expects to get from Cap One anytime soon for any campaign of hers, because the last thing they'd want to be is dragged into something like this, because then people are going to attack them for having loaned him money.
Well, it's protection money. If you're in New York State and they're just going to vote blue no matter who, you don't want to have those people on your bad side, so you just give them money, because this is a real nice bank you got here. It'd be a shame if anything happened to it.
Yeah, but also she's shining a spotlight on them that they might not want shined on them. In the event that, let's say, she were right, then that would mean that they didn't do their due diligence. Don't tell me. Could there have been a quid pro quo?
Well, I mean, there could have been a whole bunch of things, but in the big scheme of things, you can get an independent appraisal, and part of it was also a projection of the return on that, well, basically the income generated by these properties. It's not like the banks don't know how to figure out what prevailing rents are based on zip code. They know with a pretty good degree of certainty how much a piece of commercial real estate is worth per square foot. All they literally do is say, in this zip code, this is the price per square foot. They multiply it by the number of square feet of rentable property, and then they have their estimate. Whatever Trump came up with couldn't have been off by that much.
No.
This is ridiculous. I don't want to be apologizing for Donald Trump. I
It's
mean, I don't like him personally, but this is She should be disbarred.
Is there more? Well, please.
No, but seriously, she should be disbarred.
Yes.
She's not she should be disbarred. She should be impeached. She should be.
She's wasting the taxpayer dollars as Attorney General.
It was irresponsible.
There's no crime in New York State that she could be going after. Why not go after somebody who hasn't done anything?
Right. And annoy a whole bunch of other people.
She's busy saving the country, though.
Yeah, she's just doing this for political capital, and it's
she's saving the United States of America.
I know from the enemies of democracy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Isn't it backfiring on her though? Because she is just, she's the Eternal General. Murders up what?
The Eternal General. That's awesome.
Well, she'd have to care,
what
Jenna.
I know what you meant.
Murders up, robbery, this whole no bill shit.
Property and violence crimes are up.
And
significantly. Trump's a meanie pants.
Just remember which lives matter.
Trump's a meanie pants.
It's like these people
are 3 years old and they
are so addicted to Trump.
They are.
That if they don't think about him 45 seconds of every minute,
yep,
their brains turn to mush.
He's replaced sex in the mind of most liberal men.
So Jenna, there's a beautiful little twist to this tale, which I haven't brought up yet. She recently expanded her attempts to throw somebody in jail to include not just Donald Trump, the guy who runs the company, but also the members of his family that are involved in the business as well. She's decided to widen the net to see if she can drag in anybody else with the last name of Trump.
Isn't that awesome?
Which means that she's taken a ridiculous prosecution and turned it into a farcical prosecution. The idea that somehow you can, drag Laura and Melania and everybody else into this damn thing. I can't remember which one's the hot daughter. Ivanka, yeah. Just drag Ivanka into it. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous because as bad as it is her going after Trump, her just trying to widen the net to see if she can just grab somebody from from his family is funny, because this is the kind of stuff that law does when you're dealing with people with a lot less juice than the Trumps, right? You start threatening the members of the family to force somebody into a plea deal, even if they know that it's not a real thing and they think they're innocent. They may agree to it to basically spare their family from this prosecution. That's not going to work this time.
Isn't that what happened to Michael Cohen?
Oh, I don't know. I'm not familiar with that one offhand.
They do.
I may have the name wrong.
One thing New York knows quite well, New York politicians in particular, is extortion. And there are legal forms within the law of those kinds of pressure points. They're not particularly ethical, but there's no law being broken. Nice family you have here. Pity if they all ended up in prison. But it is straight out of the mob kind of way of thinking.
I think Chicago is going to pull their head out of their backside before New York does. I think New York will, if they hit rock bottom with companies and stuff leaving, they're going to hit hard. But I feel like Chicago might be getting ready to pull out of the stupid.
Wow, that would be impressive if it happens.
But it'll be Chicago before New York. And it'll be New York before California.
Yeah, you're right.
I think New York's in for... What did Biden call it? A hard winter of doom or whatever, because nothing makes sense right now.
I can
with
tell
the
you what's going on
laws.
with New York. New York is still swimming in free COVID money.
Yep.
They printed tons and tons of money, and they gave it to a lot of these big blue cities. So when you look at the budgets that they've come up with for the refugee camps in these blue cities, where they've started shipping people, the numbers in terms of cost in some of these big blue cities are ridiculous. You're talking about billions of dollars to build a small tent city. I can assure you that the boys in Texas can do it for a much better value.
Well, they cut their patient care costs by tossing the COVID patients in with the old people, and you got a tooth for that way.
Although they had a boat
that was twofer.
Empty
just for them.
Yeah, it said twofer.
Yeah.
It's yeah, it's the difficulty because of New York being the financial center for companies leaving it. It's not quite the same as Cali. Companies can leave and go to Texas.
Mm-hmm. New York being a financial center has a different type of situation.
It's a little bit like where you are vis-a-vis the Silicon Valley. There is there's a benefit and an expedience to, even when the cost of doing business in that place is excessive, to remain there.
There are some small nuclei of high-tech stuff that have gone back for decades in other parts of the country.
Yeah.
Research Triangle Park.
Yeah.
Where was BBN located, Skep? Was it someplace near Boston, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Probably the western suburbs. It was Framingham, out that area is a very common technology. 495 was basically technology road.
I was going to say it was that whole
the belt, western belt. MIT to Framingham in one easy step.
Yeah, but if you want to skip the tolls, just go 93.
Yeah. Oh, my multiple good opportunities to get really good jobs back east passed decades ago. So I'm not going to worry. That ship has sailed. I'm going down with the ship here in California.
I was just making a map joke because Skep and Prospero love maps and directions so much. And
I know we had to make the map.
I feel like we can't use the word map anymore.
I was just going to say, doesn't it sound funny?
Cartography.
What's wrong with the word map?
I don't like maps.
Minor attracted person is what MAP stands for.
Can we discuss that for a moment?
No, we can't. We're not going to discuss that on the show.
The left co-opting everything.
We're not going to discuss that.
Okay.
We discuss a lot of things on here, but I want the minions to keep their channel.
No.
Yeah, we're all against it.
You don't want to play Russian roulette?
I'm very good at my 12 times table, and I learned that through life.
Yep. Life teaches us to avoid certain practices, subjects. And
that's a beautiful view on that train photo.
Oh, yeah. Nothing but the finest for our Greta. Oh, that's still up there?
Yes, it is.
That looks like some miserable little pine barrens out in rural Sweden.
I was trying to change the subject. Why does she have? How much food does that chick need to eat?
This is my favorite right here.
I really like that.
All my Greta photos.
That limey, lemony, greeny, yellow just makes it too.
How dare you?
Really. It would be better. Good. It would be better if the dual exhausts were coming out of her pie hole.
This one's pretty good.
Mein Klima.
Yeah. Mein Klima.
Did you hear what Hillary Clinton said last week or something? About how a Trump rally is like a Nazi, like Hitler speaking to the Nazi. The boys in the front row, apparently there were only these young boys in the front row, meaning 18, 19, 20, and they were doing the Nazi salute as he went on about rhetoric for an hour and a half about how all this fascist and socialists, no, fashion.
Oh, well, that might have had to do with the picture that everybody was banding about, where people were holding up one finger as in "We're number one, we're number one," and they were all
Well,
claiming that it was, oh my God.
she was claiming that oh, I forgot the word she used, and it's the most important word of the thing, and I hate it when this happens. It frustrates me so much because it's so important to explain it, but she
Maybe it'll
said
come
the
to
word
you.
connected to Hitler and how she always wondered how people just followed what Hitler said, and she now understands through Donald Trump.
Oh, okay. And because they think they're just following orders.
Nationalists.
National socialists, as it were.
No, but she's for socialism. It's
nationalism.
Yeah. She's for totalitarianism.
Yeah, she's a rare one to be commenting on that kind of subject matter, isn't she? Given, Jonah Goldberg has TDS and it's tiresome, but before Donald Trump came into the political landscape, Jonah wrote a book called Liberal Fascism,
mm-hmm.
and Ms. Clinton features rather prominently in that book.
Yes.
For very good reasons, and it's because he clearly defines the difference between fascism and Nazism, that they are quite different, and that Venn diagram, there's an overlap, but it isn't as big as people think it is, because Hitler had a particular style of form of government that was not what Mussolini and Franco were doing. It wasn't classic fascism.
And he was a mustache pioneer.
Oh yeah, he really was. Although Benny had the better beanie.
Yeah.
Well, something that
the precursor of Brezhnev.
That's the interesting thing. People don't realize in 1939, Hitler thought Mussolini was the shizzle. He thought, this guy's doing it right. He's got his country mobilized. They're up in arms. These guys will follow him anywhere. He could invade Ethiopia and get away with it. And he wanted, in 1939, he looked at Mussolini and said, I want to be just like him. How different were things 5 years later? By 1944, Mussolini was coming to Hitler, hat in hand. Hitler was clearly in the superior position, looking down on Mussolini. He had nothing but contempt for him.
Well,
what a sick relationship that must have been.
Yeah, I mean, Hitler was the autodidact and the hanger-on, and Mussolini was the intellectual, the college.
Yes, yep.
And quite a
classically educated.
Classically educated, along with Lenin. Lenin and Mussolini were correspondents.
Absolutely, they knew and liked each other.
Yeah,
no, ladies and gentlemen, that is not John Lennon.
No, Lenin.
I know. I was being funny.
But yeah, and the lol, they just took two separate paths to the same goal.
Hey, what do you think Lenin's tablecloths were made out of?
What do you imagine they were made out of?
Wool.
See, it just got to be a triple.
I saw the triple pun. That was very nice.
Well, can I just say that when was
Worsted.
listening to some rhetoric on YouTube about this that I don't remember who made the point is, but I like this. If you have to bring Hitler, Nazism,
Fascism, Mussolini.
into it, it's the end of argument. You lose.
Yeah, it's Godwin's law. It's basically Godwin's law. It's you idiot. You just brought
Yeah.
up Hitler.
If
You
you
know,
have to
Godwin's law.
say,
It's not.
"Oh, you're a Nazi,"
It's a very
Godwin's is not a law. It's more of a guideline. Really.
Yes, it is.
More of a guideline, really.
It's basically the same that's said about ad hominem. If you have to stoop to that trick, you've lost the argument.
Yeah. And you probably lost some time ago.
Yeah, you're stupid because you're ugly.
Yeah.
You're stupid because you're wearing that red hat.
Yeah. You just want to kill babies. You know,
Most TDS,
whatever.
Yeah, most TDS is driven by ad hominem argument. Yeah. Look at them wearing their red hats. Look at them. They are stupid. That is the assumption based on something utterly unrelated.
That's true. That's true.
We could discuss the Ohio
personal insult goes in there too, but I mean ad hom. What is because you're this, your argument carries no weight.
Isn't Snopes wonderful?
Snopes is so full of shit.
Miscaptioned.
This is a diesel car charging station for electric cars. It's literally an electric car being charged by a diesel generator. Rating mixed.
Mixed, right? It's, Snopes is absolutely gone. Has gone down the tubes as far as I'm concerned. Barbara Mickelson had a great idea. She ran it professionally and well for several years, and then they got woke, and it absolutely sucks.
Well, didn't he end up taking it over?
Yeah, after the divorce.
Yeah, after he cheated on her, you mean?
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. But
made a mess of that. Yeah, I just and Politico is only a
am I right?
Smidge better.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're only a smidge better than Snopes.
Yeah, if that. Are you talking about PolitiFact or Politico? PolitiFact is the fact checker. Politico is the left-wing political magazine, right?
Oh, PolitiFact is pretty shitty too.
Yeah, PolitiFact sucks a lot.
And depending on what day it is, a lot of the leading newspapers have shitty fact checkers. WAPO has very shitty fact checkers.
Oh, it's laughable. I subscribe.
You're like the
to
Dana
Milbank because I wanted to be able to get behind a paywall for major stories.
Yeah,
sometimes you just need that, and they pick up a lot of stuff from the New York Times and the AP, so you get a pretty broad, actually fairly broad selection of things to choose from. Sometimes you got to go to page D96 to read anything about a conservative, but it's in there somewhere.
And it's driving Taylor Lawrence crazy.
Yeah. Oh my God.
That woman it's just what a piece of shit. I mean, just
absolute opportunistic scumbag.
Oh, and apparently Brett Stevens and Gail Collins were getting into it over the big fat lie that was the charges being brought against Gates.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're not going to happen, because it was all accusation and the whole case fell apart. And Brett Stevens is furious with the FBI for once again mishandling things to this level. And as far as she's concerned, yeah, it was all for a good cause, though, right? It sounds like she's taken the Sam Harris road, which is being lying, incompetent, fuck knuckles. It's perfectly fine as long as you get the results you want. Well, the results, they're not going to get the results they want. Matt Gaetz is going to win his seat again. He handily won his primary. You haven't accomplished anything but make the FBI look more like a honk honk. You know, I mean, if the glowies and the fibbies can't put somebody out at a Trump rally who hasn't just shaved the side of their head, and they didn't all go to the same store and buy their khakis, those guys look like a goddamn Orvis catalog. You know, it was like at least one of them should have shown up wearing some Duluth.
Criticizing the fashion,
Isn't that alcohol?
choices of the fascisti.
Yeah, but those twats. The guy's tan, but the side of his head is glowing through the freshly shaved hair.
Right.
Dude.
Yeah.
Everything
make an effort. It's called makeup.
Everything about their body posture, everything about just screamed fed.
Yeah.
And they're like,
I spent my college years in a fraternity house.
Yeah.
That's who these guys are.
Absolutely. And I mean, it's like,
I agree with
you. The only thing kind of missing was the ribbon belts and the Lacoste shorts from back in the day.
Yeah, the Izod Lacoste. Yeah.
And the feathered blown haircut of, do you know
boys
in the 70s.
Do you know why the crocodile was the
Rene Lacoste symbol?
Yeah, why he chose
wasn't
the croc? Was his nickname was the croc.
Yeah,
the croc.
Le Croc.
And it was because of his lunging style
when he played tennis.
Of play when he played tennis. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's where the croc came from. Was the
took
tennis player.
He took it and made a fortune on it. Yeah.
Anyway, listen, guys, I'm winding down, so I'm going to send it around the horn. Does anyone have anything they wanted to bring up that we didn't get to bring up earlier in the evening?
No.
Nothing that will fit in a final thought.
Well, what did you have something in mind, Harry?
It will extend the show by 20 minutes, so no.
Okay. All right.
Can we know what it is after?
We'll talk about it in the after show, I'm sure.
We'll
but anyway,
Saturday
listen.
Or something.
Yeah. Listen, I want to thank everybody for coming out. Thank you, my friends here on the panel, and thank you, chat, for coming out and listening to us. And thank you, twins, for showing up and just creeping the shit out of me. But seriously, it's been great fun. We're gonna end it for tonight because I'm old and tired, and so we're gonna call it good. Thanks for coming out. We'll do it again next week, and join us for Saturday's show with Harry and the gang. We'll be back. But in any case, thanks for coming out. The zoo is closed, and good night, every.